Hi YouTube, this is Mike, and in this video we're going to be going over the game of Sic Bo, in particular analyzing the math of the game so you can see for yourself the expected value of every bet. We are doing it on this Sic Bo demo game you can find at mrgames.com, games spelled with a Z, and the game itself is by B Gaming, in other words the software. You can see in the lower left that we're starting with a balance of $1,000 in fun money. And one way you can bet in Sic Bo is on the total of the three dice. And I'm going to bet on every total from 4 to 17. So that's a total of $14 bet. And you might say, whiz, what about a total of 3 and 18? There is another way to bet on those totals that I will explain later. So let's roll the dice and see what happens. And the winning total is 13. So a bet on a total of 13 pays 9 to 1 plus my original bet back. So I got back a total of $10. So I bet a total of $14 and got back $9, meaning that the outcome of that bet, the outcome of everything was a loss of $5. So now let's go over to Excel and analyze the expected value of all those bets. We are now ready to determine the number of ways you can roll any given total with three dice. And this technique that I'm going to show you will work for any number of dice and any type of die. Now, I've already gotten this spreadsheet started. In column A here, we have the total between all the dice, and column B is the number of combinations with one die. And this one you have to populate yourself. There's obviously one way to roll all totals from 1 to 6 with one die. Okay, here is the humdinger. Right now I am in cell C8, which represents the number of ways you can roll a total of 2 with 2 dice. So what you want to do is you want to take the sum of the 6 cells to one column to the left, starting with one cell above and then going up 5 more cells. So in this case, it's the sum of cells B2 to B7. And you can see that it's, and by the way, these are just implied zeros here. So let me copy and paste this down, and voila, there is the number of combinations with 2 dice. And if you've watched my craps videos, in particular number 1, you'll see these exact same numbers done a different way. And now all I have to do is take that same cell and copy and paste it for 3 dice. And there we have, right here, the number of ways you can roll any total from 3 to 18. And as I said, you could keep going with this as far as you want. And you could do it with other types of dice like dodecahedrons and icosahedrons. It's really pretty clever. Now forgive me if I don't go into why this works. My videos tend to run too long to begin with. So I'll leave that as an exercise up to you. Okay, so I also started to create the return table for the total bets. And this is what they pay right here in column B. And now let's get the combinations which we just worked out. So here's the number of ways to roll a total of 4, and I can just copy and paste this down. Now let's get the probability of any given total. So there are obviously 6 to the 3rd power of ways to roll 3 dice, or 216. And just to verify that, let's take the sum of the range here for 3 dice. There we go, there's our 216. So to get the probability, we just take the number of combinations and divide by 6 to the 3rd power. And we can copy and paste that down. And now let's get the expected return. Whoops. Okay, So to get that, we're going to take the probability of the bet winning and multiply that by what it pays plus 1. Because if you win, you get your original bet back. And so this shows us right here that the bet on a total of 4 will return 84.72%. In other words, if you bet $1 on this, on average, you can expect to get back 84.7 cents. However, I like expected values better for table games. The expected return is how much you can get back for your bet. For example, if the expected return were 87.5%, that means you'll get back 87.5% on average, and the casino will get the rest. The expected value is, how shall I put it, how much you can expect to win or lose from that bet. So if the expected value is negative, that means that the odds are not in your favor. They're in the other party's favor. So to get the expected value, you just subtract 1 from the expected return because it cost you 1 unit to make that bet. And let's make these columns 6 digits each. So there we go. The expected value of the bet on a total of 4 is negative 15.28%. That means for every dollar you bet, you can expect to lose 15.28 cents. So let's take a look at this here. Looks like the best bet is a tie between a total of 7 and 14 with an expected value of negative 9.7%. And the worst is on a total of 6 and 15 with a house edge of 16.7%. So there you go. That is my analysis of the bets on the totals. So let's go back to the game and look at another bet. We are back at the game, and now I'm going to demonstrate the double and triple bets. The double bets, there's 6 different types of double bets, 1 for each die face. For example, the double bet on 6 will win if the roll has at least 2 6s, and wins pay 10 to 1. So I'm going to bet on all 6 double bets. So I'm going to win if I get a pair or a 3 of a kind. And I just got a pair of 2s, so that wins. So that $10 bet paid 10 to 1, so I got $100 as a win plus my original $10 back. Now, triple bets win if your chosen side has a 3 of a kind. For example, my bet on 3 4s obviously wins if there are 3 4s. And wins pay 180. And I'm not going to sit here and play until I get a 3 of a kind, but I just want to at least make some losing bets. And there's also this bet here on any triple. This will win on any 3 of a kind, whereas this one here on 3 1s will win on a 3 of a kind of 1s only. And let's try one more time. Wow, yay, we win. What are the odds? And I will explain the odds in a minute. So my bet on 3 4s just pays 180 to 1, so I bet $10. So that means that I won $1,800 there. And my bet on any 3 of a kind paid 30 to 1. So my $10 bet paid 300 in winnings there. Plus I get $2 back. I get $10 back for each of those bets because they won. So coming back to me, I had 1,810 for the 3 4s and 310 for the any 3 of a kind. So that roll to me was worth $2,120. So let's go over to Excel now and analyze those bets. Let's start by analyzing the double bet. That pays 10 to 1 if it wins, and I put -1 if it loses because you lost your whole bet. And I already got this sheet going here with what I call a return table. This shows in column A whatever happens, whether the bet, in this case, the bet can only win or lose, what it pays, the number of combinations or the number of ways it can win or lose. This is the most important column. The probability of that event, and the return column is the product of the win and the probability. And when you take the sum of the returns, you will get the expected value of the bet. So the key to working this out is to find the number of ways you can win the bet. So as a reminder, to win a bet on a double, the chosen die face must happen at least twice. So first, let's work out the number of combinations for your chosen die face to happen exactly twice. If it happens exactly twice, then the other die face can be one of 5 things. For example, if you bet on at least 2 threes, the die that isn't a 3 can be any one of the other 5. And with 3 dice, that die that is not a 3 can be any one of the 3 dice. So you multiply that 5 by 3. And that will give you 15. That's the number of ways you can win with exactly 2 of your chosen die face. However, you also win if you get that chosen die face on all 3 dice. And there's one way that can happen. For example, if you bet on the double 3 bet, there's only one way you can win that with 3, a 3, a 3, and a 3. So there we have 16 ways you can win that bet. And the number of ways you can lose, well, you can lose if all 3 dice are not your chosen die face. For example, let's say you chose the double 4 bet. You could lose if none of the 3 dice are 4. And there are 5 to the 3rd ways that can happen because all 3 dice could be any one of 5 things. In other words, anything that isn't a 4 in the case of my example. Now you can also lose that bet if your chosen die face happens only once. So if it happens only once, the other 2 dice can be any one of 5 things. So we're going to take 5 to the 2nd power, and then the 1 die that you got right, that can be in any of the 3 positions. So we multiply that by 3. So there we get 216 ways you can lose. So let's take the sum of these 2 numbers, and we get 216, which is 6 to the 3rd power, which indicates that I probably did this right. So to get the probability, you multiply the number of combinations by the total number of combinations. So that shows that we have a 7.41% chance of winning this bet. And to get the return, you multiply the probability by what it pays. And let's take the total of that return column, and it shows a return of negative 18.52%. In other words, for every dollar you bet on this, you can expect to get back, you can expect to lose 18.5 cents. So let's go on to the triple bet. Let's save time by just copying and pasting the last table. Now a triple bet will pay 180 if it wins, and there's obviously only one way you can win the triple bet. For example, if you bet on 3 sixes, there's only one way that's going to happen, with 1 die with a 666. And I hope you'll excuse me if I just put in 215 for the number of ways you can lose. So there we see that the triple bet has an expected return of negative 16.2%. In other words, for every dollar you bet, you can expect to lose 16.2 cents. And finally, let's look at the any triple bet. So this will win on any three of a kind. You don't need to choose a specific one. That pays 30 to 1. And there are obviously 6 ways you can win that bet. 1 for each three of a kind. And there's 210 ways you can lose. Forgive me if I don't go through all the ways you can lose. I just did 210 because it's 216 minus 6. So there we can see that the expected return on the any triple bet is negative 13.9%. So there we go, pretty simple. Let's go back to the game to look at another bet. Next, let's analyze the small and the big bets. I think these are 2 of the most popular bets in Sic Bo. And I'm going to bet $25 on small. And let's notice that right now have a balance of $995. Now a bet on small is going to win on a total of 4 to 10. However, if that win is composed of a three of a kind, it's going to lose. Another way to phrase the rules of the bet is that any three of a kind is an automatic loser. Otherwise, a bet on the small is going to win on a total of under 10.5, and a bet on big is going to win on a bet of over 10.5. And all wins pay even money. So let's go. Let's note that my balance right now is 995. And that's a total of 14, so big wins, so I lose. So let's try again. My balance is now at 970. And oh no, the dreaded three of a kind. What are the odds? So that would have won had it not been for the rule that a three of a kind automatically loses. And this video was not gaffed, by the way. So let's try again. My balance is at 920 and the total is 11. I lose again. Let's try again. My balance is at 895 and the total is 12, so I lose again. I'm not doing very well here. Okay, I'm at 870. I lose again. I'm glad I'm not playing the martingale right now. And here we go, another bet on small. Balance is at 845 and I lose again. Okay. Previously, when I said my balance was at 845, I meant after I rolled the dice. So right now it's at 845 before I roll. So here we go. Finally, a win. The total of 5 is under 10.5, so I win, and it wasn't a three of a kind. So my $25 bet paid even money, so I win 25 and I get my original $25 back, reflecting a balance of 870 now. So it would have been 845 before. Next, let's analyze the small and big bets. Let's look at this small, for example. So those bets pay even money. And as stated before, the bet on the small will win if the total of the dice is under 10.5, or from 3 to 10. And we already worked out the number of ways for any given total, so we don't need to do that again. Let's build on what we've already done. So I'm going to refer to the totals sheet here. So this shows that there are 108 ways to get a total under 10.5. And you lose if the total is over 10.5. So let's get the sum of the number of combinations for 11 to 18. So if that was exactly how the bet worked, you can see that the expected return would be 0. In other words, it would be a perfectly fair bet. However, the casino usually has an advantage. And the way they get it on the small and the big bets, as I stated before, is that if there is a three of a kind, you automatically lose. So looking at the bet on small, ways that you can lose with a total under 10.5 are with a 111, 222, and a 333. So we have to subtract 3 from the number of winning combinations. So that brings it down to 105. And we add those 3 to the number of ways you can lose. So there we have an expected return of negative 2.78%. So for every dollar you bet, you can expect to lose 2.8 cents, which is a much better bet than everything we've looked at already. So next, let's look at the domino bet. And we are back at our game, and there's only one type of bet left to discuss, and that is what I call the domino bets. And those can be found in this row right here. The bet on a 2 and a 3, for example, will win if the roll of the dice contains at least 1 2 and at least 1 3. For example, it would win on a 1 2 and 3, it would win on a 2 2 and a 3, it would win on a 2 3 and a 3, a 2 3 and a 6, and so on. You must see a 2 and a 3 in that roll. So let's bet $10 on all of them. So covering all these, the table limit is reached. I did not know there was a table limit. So let's only bet on those numbers right there. I mean those bets right there. Okay, so 4, 4, and a 3. So my bet on a 3 and a 4 paid 5 to 1. So I bet $10 on that. I got $50 in winnings plus my original $10 back. So now let's go back to Excel one final time to analyze the domino bets. Next, let's look at the domino bet. This one is more mathematically complicated, so pay attention. And there are a number of different ways you can both win and lose this bet. I already started by getting a return table going here. Now let's say that you bet on the 1 2 domino, for example. One way you can win is to roll a 1 1 and a 2, because you can see that both the 1 and the 2 are represented. And there are 3 ways that you can do that, because any one of the 3 dice can be that 2. So there are obviously another way to win is with a 1 2 and a 2, and there are 3 ways to do that for the same reason. However, when you win this bet, it's usually because you rolled exactly 1 1 and 1 2 and 1 of something else. And that something else can be anything from 3 to 6 or 4 different, in other words, there are 4 different die faces left to choose from. So we will let this X here represent anything that's not a 1 or a 2. So that X can be one of 4 die faces, and with 3 different die faces there are 3 factorial or 6 different ways you can order them. So the number of ways you can win is the total of 3, 3, and 24. And by the way, wins pay 5 to 1. Now let's look at the number of ways to lose. The number of ways you can lose. One way you can lose is if none of the dice are a 1 or a 2. So any one of every die is going to be one of 4 different things. So there are 4 to the 3rd power ways you can lose that way. Another way you can lose is that if you say get a 1 and the other 2 dice are anything but a 1 and a 2. So that X can be one of 4 things, and since there are 2 X's, we do 4 times 4, and that 1 can be any one of the 3 dice, so we multiply by 3 for the order. And the same goes for 2, an X, and an X. That's going to just be another 48. Another way you can lose is if you roll a 1, and anything else that's not a 1 or a 2. So there's 4 possibilities for that X, and there are 3 ways you can choose the two ones among the three dice. Same for a 2, 2, and an X. And finally, another way you can lose is with a 1, 1, and a 1, because again, the 2 is not represented. Another way you can lose is with a 2, 2, and a 2, and there's one way you can do that. So let's take the total of all these ways to lose. And yay, we get 186, and our total is 216, which we already know is 2 to the, is 6 to the third power. So the probability of winning is 13.9%, and the expected return is negative 16.7%. So if you bet $100 on this, you can expect to lose $16.67. So that's it for the domino bet, and let's go back to the game to look at whatever bets we have left. So let me go on to the next bet that I want to explain. And I don't know the names of these bets, but you can bet on any one of the 6 die faces. And let's bet on a 5, for example. I'm going to bet $25 on a 5. Now, if I roll 1 5, I'm going to get paid even money. If I roll 2 5s, I'm going to get paid 2 to 1. And if I roll 3 5s, I'm going to get paid 3 to 1. So here we go. Again, remember my balance is at 870. And I didn't get any 5s, so I lose. So let's try again. I'm now at 845. And I got 1 5. So I get paid even money. So my balance now increases by $25 back up to 870. So let's go back to Excel and analyze those bets that I just explained. The only thing left to do is to analyze the bets on a single die face. And again, I don't know what these bets are called, so I'm just going to call them a bet on a face or a single die face. Now, if your chosen die face appears all 3 times, it pays 3 to 1. If it appears twice, it pays 2 to 1. If it appears once, it pays even money. And if it doesn't appear at all, then it loses, as represented by a -1. So how many ways can you roll your chosen die face all 3 times? Well, there's obviously one way. For example, if you choose a 6, the only way you're going to get paid 3 to 1 is with a 6, 6, and a 6. If it appears twice, you're going to get paid 2 to 1. How many ways can that happen? Well, the other die can be one of 5 things. For example, if you bet on a 6, the die that isn't a 6 can be one of 5 things. And that other die can be one of the 3 dice. So we put in a 3 for the number of orders. So there's 15 ways that your chosen die face can appear twice. How many ways can it appear once? Well, the other 2 die faces can be one of 5 things. So we do 5 times 5 for the 2 different dice. And there are 3 ways that you can, there are 3 orders for the one die that has your correct die face. So there are 75 ways you can win with just one of the dice matching your chosen bet. How many ways can you lose? Well, that is going to happen if all 3 dice are not your chosen die face. So all 3 dice can be one of 5 things. So we do 5 to the third power. And let's take that total and hope that it is 216. Yay, it is, which means we probably did this right. So let's find the probabilities by dividing the number of combinations by the total. And as usual, the return is the probability times what the bet pays. So let's copy and paste that down. And then let's copy and paste the total. So, and I like to have 6 decimal places, so let's change the format to that. So here we can see that a bet on a single die face has an expected return of -7.9%. Now, some more generous casinos will pay 12 to 1 if your chosen die face appears all 3 times. That lowers the house advantage way down to 3.7%. However, 3 to 1 is the norm. And that's it. That is my analysis of the single die face. I hope that you understood that. And by the way, all of these bets, except the small and the big, have configurable wins. And the pay table that we looked at here is, shall we say, average. Some casinos are more generous, some are less. And you can use this spreadsheet to plug in for the wins anything that you want, and the return cells will automatically recalculate. And hopefully by watching this video, you can do the math yourself now. So that's it on Sic Bo. Thanks for watching, YouTube. I hope you'll give this video a thumbs up. Better yet, subscribe to my channel. I have plenty of other videos on gambling out there in YouTube land. And I already have done 4 videos on craps math. I invite you to watch those. And I plan to make more videos that show how to analyze different casino games. So again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in another video, YouTube. Bye.